We move on to the next topic, which is internal analysis. And in talking about internal analysis under strategy, what we're trying to talk about essentially has to do with the company in question, the entity in question, and things that are within the control or within the premises of the entity we're talking about. To understand the internal analysis properly, there are certain things that we also have to talk about within. One of those things is what we call a strategic capability of an entity. Since we said internal analysis has to do with things within the control or the premises of the entity in question, and one of the things you have to assess in analyzing the internal sphere of an entity has to be is what we call strategic capability. What is strategic capability? Strategic capability has to do with what? The assessment of the capability and capacities of the organization in question. The assessment of what do we as an entity have in place in terms of assets, physical and non-physical, financial and non-financial, that can assist our competition in the industry or in the market we have found ourselves. So by the time we are able to do this, take an assessment of whatever we have that can give us a plus or an advantage over our competitors in the market or in the industry or the sector, we will become is what we term as a strategic capability. Why is it strategic? It means with those things going for us, we will be able to outsmart our competitor in terms of when do we have to charge a lower cost, a lower price compared to our competitor, when do we have to up our game, when do we have to also possibly increase our price, or when do we have to review our qualities and things like that. So that is a strategic capability in a short form. But we also can define strategic capability in more comprehensive definition by saying that it is defined as the capacity of an entity to utilize the resources available to it through the competencies developed in the activities and the processes it performs, and the linkage between the internal and external activities of the entity, which leads to overall balance of core competence. A lot of keywords are involved in this comprehensive definition, and some of those keywords include resources, competencies, core competencies, internal and external activities. So some of these keywords are explained after now. So we get the explanations of each one of them as we get to the respective subheadings where they have. Then we can also ask ourselves, how is this strategic capability assessed or achieved in an organization, in an entity? The very first thing we need to do is what we call the deployment of resources. Don't forget the resources here, or will also mean the assets are earlier referred to. That physical and non-physical, financial or non-financial assets, they are also to be termed resources. So in assessing or trying to achieve strategic capability for any entity, there must be the deployment of these resources. That is, these resources must be made available. You can't claim or you can't be looking out for strategic capability as an entity without having to look for funds, that is financial resources that you are going to use for your operations, what we call working capital. You also will need the non-current assets, what we either call fixed assets. Is it the machinery you want to talk about? Is it the motor vehicles, the furniture and fittings, and the likes? They must be brought in. That is, they must have been bought and brought into the premises of the organization for them to be useful. Their usefulness will definitely lead to our achieving strategic capability. Then the next thing that can also make us achieve strategic capability has to do with what? Core competencies. You now ask me, what is competence? Before we talk about core competencies. Competence has to do with what? The ability to consistently do a particular task and achieving result with it. What do I call competence? I say competence is an ability to what? To consistently do a particular task and achieving what? Result with it. For example, if one is an accountant or financial accountant with an entity, it means you must have the ability to what? To do the general, the postings, the normal postings from the scratch, from the what we call what source documents to the last records, and producing what? A trial balance or a financial statement out of that. The more you do this on a regular basis, an accountant, and the more you are able to balance your books, and the more you are able to get out your trial balance and your your complementary financial statement in good time, because for every financial report there is like to be a deadline. Doing it with the best output, that is the best result, that the financial statement representing the true state of affairs of the organization, and the report also getting to the table of the management as at when due, over time will lead to is what we call what? Competence. That is, you have become a competent accountant. You can also have an accountant who is not able, even after having the necessary degree or the certification, but could not really understand some complexities of postings, and could not generate his or her trial balance in good time, and could not ever come up with a financial statement. Definitely we refer to such an accountant as what? As incompetent. If we take it to marketing too, for a marketer, the ability to convince customers or potential customers about the products of the organization, about the various varieties of the product, achieving a sale. That is, even if you have been able to sweet talk or bamboos or do whatever to a customer and it does not end in a sale, it is not marketing. So I need to generate sales from your marketing efforts, and generating those sales in good number, leading to what? Increased turnover for the organization, and making the customers really know the benefit of the product in question, becomes makes such a marketer to be what? A competent marketer. And to an organization now, that is just for different disciplines or professions within an organization. For an organization and an entity, ability to being in a particular industry or sector and making the market, making the industry, making the general public know that you are good in the production of this particular product. For example, Nestle Foods, for example, they've been in production of what? Of beverages, what we call Milo drink, for a long time. And people have come up to really acknowledge the benefit of their drink, what it brings into them, the nourishment they derive from it, and the packaging to it, the quality level always being consistent with their quality level, and their prices being stable. In overall, put all these things together, we call it what? The competence of such organization. But if something becomes core competence when in that industry, it is not the organization alone that is, like the example of the beverage I just gave now. In beverages industry now, or the chocolate element of it, we have Cadbury, we have Nestle Foods, and two of them have other things they also produce. But people have one way or the other, people have adduced Nestle Foods to be better in terms of the chocolate drink than Cadbury. And Cadbury having some other products they also do, like the treble element that is better than that of Nestle Foods or some other company. So we can now say the core competence of Nigeria, the Nestle Foods, is what? Is the production of Milo. And they also have bottled water, but their bottled water is not as good as the Eva water produced by Nigerian bottling company, MVC. So the core competence of an organization is the ability to run a particular production, become very good in a particular production or service. So that must also be in place. That is, over time they have displayed that competence, and it is generating increased sales for the organization and increased popularity and increased patronage. So that with that they can also achieve a strategic capability. Then the third one could be what we call service delivery mechanism. That is, how is the organization or the entity serving its customers? The example of beverages industry or companies I've just given now, they are within for the Nigerian market only. For example, the Nigerian market is divided into 6 geopolitical zones, and which has 36 states embedded in it. And the companies will have to serve the Milo. For example, for the Nigerian Nestle Foods that I mentioned, they have to make sure Milo is in the market, all markets in Lagos, and at the same time all the markets in Oyo State, in Kaduna State, in Plateau State, and so many other states like that. So ability to be able to produce so large quantity, enough such that there is a distribution network of taking all these products to the various states through their dealers or their depots and whatever the marketing system they have adopted, and everybody getting to different markets at any state and picking up their products without any complaint. Even the longest, or the state that is at the border of Nigeria with other countries, say Chad or Niger, has the Milo, and the states where it is being produced, which is Lagos State, also has the Milo. So that ability to make the Milo available at all markets at every time is what we can call the service delivery mechanism. That means they will have deployed trucks, train, different market transportation system to ensure this is done, this is achieved. So having this in place is also what leads to what the achievement of strategic capability. Then the next one is what resulting to what competitive advantage. That is, the first 3 we have mentioned will make the company in question to be above its competitors. By the time they are now above their competitors, it also gives them what we call competitive advantage. That is, having edge over the others in the same industry. The edge over others in the same industry makes the company to record strategic capability again to achieve, and that's why we have the last point as achieving strategic capability. This heading can also be refined to mean what the stages to the achievement of it can also be refined. It can also be refined to mean stages or steps to the achievement of strategic capability. Then the next to examine is what we call the customer needs. That is, because the strategic capability we are talking about is about the customer. So it means we must have been able to really serve the customer very well for that strategic capability to have been achieved. Then in serving the customer needs, let's look at some of the approaches. We have what we call the marketing approach, which will involve the following: provision of goods and services that meet what the customer needs. That is, we have an information or have an info into what the customers really want, and because we are able to produce that for to the customers, that will also make us achieve strategic capability. Outside that, the customer personalizes business entities that meet their needs best. That is, it could be the marketing approach is such that you are assessing the customer needs from 2 perspectives. One is that we are ability to meet the customer needs. That is, what does the customer want? The customer wants a beverage, chocolate beverage, that he can say drink at any time, maybe in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the night.